All right, today we're going to be reading a little story or a passage entitled The White House. Okay? Upon completing this story, we're going to summarize the story. Who's ever heard of summarization? Do we know what summarization means? Malachi? Good, yeah. Malachi says it kind of just sums up what we read into smaller portions. Awesome job, Malachi. So when we summarize, we're going to explain what summarization is for some of you that don't know. First, what summarization does, it helps us determine main ideas and important details that support the main ideas. So like Malachi said, we're going to sum up the story we're reading into smaller sections, highlighting the main ideas of what we read. Second, it helps us focus on keywords and phrases that are important to remember during the text as well. So throughout the reading, we're going to be highlighting keywords or phrases that will help us remember what the main ideas or main points are. Next, it helps us, as Malachi said, take a large section, such as this, almost a full page, and it's going to break it up into smaller portions and consolidate it into maybe a couple of sentences or maybe a paragraph. So, as I read, I want all you guys to follow along with your fingers, circling or highlighting some of the key phrases that you think are important during the reading. I'm going to start. I'll call on a few of you guys to pick up where I left off. So the title, The White House. And Sarah, what do we say the title usually tells us?
What do I have found?
Exactly. It tells us what the story's about. So we can assume that the story's going to be about the White House. Okay? And as I said, as I continue to read, make sure you're underlining or highlighting what you feel is important to the title, The White House. I'm going to start. Sarah, ready? On October 13th, 1992, the American people celebrated the 200th birthday of the White House. It was on October 13th, 1792, that the cornerstone of the White House was put in place. The White House is located at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. Every president except George Washington has lived and worked there. In 1800, the second president, John Adams, and his wife were the first family to live in the White House. Sarah, do you want to pick up from there?
The house is where the president and his family live and work is one of the most popular places to visit in the United States. Every year, more than 1 million visitors go through parts of the building.
Good job, Sarah. I'm going to continue. The house has 132 rooms, but only certain rooms are open to visitors. The White House was built twice. The second time was after the British had set fire to it during the World War of 1812. The home was rebuilt using gray sandstone. The gray sandstone was painted white to make the color more pleasing. Because it was kept white, the American people began to call it the White House. Some rooms of the White House, such as the red, green, and blue rooms, were given the names of the color in which they are decorated. One president had a room named after him. It is called the Lincoln Room. All right, good. Now we're going to try to summarize this. We're going to highlight key points to the title, The White House. Paul did a good job. I see a lot of markings on Sarah's. Malachi, I see a couple underlines on your page. Good. So, to think about this. Think about the title, The White House. Go through the passage and figure, anytime you see the White House, I'm sure it's going to be an important factor. So Sarah, what was one of the main ideas that you highlighted or underlined?
On October 1992, the American people celebrated the 100th birthday of the Washington House.
Good. So Sarah says the first sentence, on October 13th, 1992, the American people celebrated the 200th birthday of the White House. She saw the White House right there, and she figured that's going to be an important factor that we need to know. That on October 13th, 1992, that we celebrate the 200th birthday of the White House. Good. Paul, what about you? What have you highlighted? What are some main ideas or key phrases that you highlighted in your in the passage? Good. Paul says the White House is located at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. That's another key factor that we can know where it's located. Located at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Good, Paul. Malachi.
That one down.
All right, so Malachi says the White House was built twice. It was first burnt down by the British during the War of 1812. This is when the Americans went in and we rebuilt the White House, painting it with gray sandstone. That gray sandstone looked white, so by popular, the American people made the name the White House very popular. Now, during this passage, there are some sentences in there that could be irrelevant. Irrelevant means not important to the story. So we're not going to highlight everything in the story. So some of the stuff that we read will be irrelevant. Has anyone found anything that's irrelevant, anything that you didn't underline, that you felt wasn't that important to the story? So Sarah says the last paragraph on the left-hand side. She says the house in which the president and his family live and work is one of the most popular places to visit in the United States. Yeah, that's so-and-so. It's not so important where we need to know something about the White House. It's just telling us that it gets visited a lot each year by some of the Americans. Good, Sarah. Anyone else? Anyone find anything irrelevant? Sarah says the last paragraph. Okay. She says some rooms of the White House, such as the red, green, and blue rooms, were given the names of the color in which they are decorated. Yeah, that could be irrelevant. It's just telling us that the rooms are painted either green, blue, or red. All right, good. Now what we want to do, we want to take out our sum it up sheet. We're going to go over our sum it up sheet. Emma, do you have your sum it up sheet? All right. So Emma, Paul, and Malachi gave us some great highlights or main ideas of summarizing this story. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our sheet, our sum it up sheet, where it says main idea words. Sarah, what's one main idea word or phrase that we could put there? You told us that on October 13th, 1992. Right. So our main idea words, we can have 200th birthday of the White House. So everyone write down 200th birthday of the White House under main idea words. We're just condensing everything we read into a couple sentences or paragraphs to summarize it. This is going to help us understand the story a little bit better than having to read all that. Next, Paul. Remember you told us it's located? Yep. All right, good. So underneath that, we could have White House located at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. That's another main idea of this passage. Yep, 200th birthday of the White House. So now we have two sentences. We have the 200th birthday of the White House, was on October 13th, 1992. And Paul just told us where it's located. The White House located at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. What about one more key factor, or key idea, Malachi? What did you tell us before?
The White House that fallen down.
That's right. The White House was set on fire by the British. So our third main idea highlighting this passage would be, in 1812, the White House burnt down. One more key idea or key phrase to summarize this story. Let's look at the last paragraph there. The last sentence, it says, one president had a room named after him. Who is the one president to have a room named after him? Sarah. Abraham Lincoln. He's the only president we've had that had a room named after him. So that's another key factor that we could write down.
Miss, what do I write?
Write Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yep. Lincoln room, yep.
How do you spell Aber?
A-B.
A-B.
R-A-H-A-M.
R-A.
H-A-M. All right, well, now that we have all that written down, we now know how to summarize, right? We know what summarization is. Remember, let's go over them. Our summarization, it helps us understand the main ideas and important details in a story.
A-B-R.
It helps us focus on key words. It helps support the main ideas, right, Emma?
A-B-R-A.
And it teaches how to take large sections and consolidate them into
I didn't spell
A, B, A, A, H,
H,
A-M.
A-M.
And the last part, it helps us take a big story like this and breaks it down into smaller parts. So that's what it does. And you guys did a great job of listing all the main ideas. We're now ready to answer the questions that correlate with the story.